perceived as a little different if you heard a man talking about Mama Grizzly.
That, and we're also seeing some interesting differences of language between the sexes. You're seeing a number of women this year talking about, man up and sort of chastising men for not being tough enough, something men would not be able to get away with if they said it against a woman.
Does it become sexist? But this time, the women are being sexist. Man up. Is that sexist?
There's certainly a sexual element to it. Whether you want to go as far as saying, that's bigotry, I'll let other people decide that. But there's always been a case where it's fair for one group to use a certain set of language and not another. Whether it's men or a racial minority or some other group, it's considered fair for one and not for the other. That's the way it is.
We have the soundbite of the man up catchphrase. Let's roll it.
Man up, Harry Reid. You need to understand that we have a problem with Social Security.
I mean, Sharon Angle, she has a way with her words. We have to give her that. Does it hurt her, though, to say stuff like that?
What's interesting, though, as TJ knows, is that it's not just Sharon Angle. What's interesting this year is that you could do a whole compilation clip like you might do, and many women candidates are saying the exact things. A lot of candidates are saying the exact same script, like Meg Whitman used certain expressions that Arnold Schwarzenegger used. So it does seem like there's some concerted thing, like here are the catchphrases we want everyone to use.
Is there a double standard? Because if men were to come out and say to Sharon Angle or to say to Sarah Palin or Meg Whitman or Christine O'Donnell, I don't know, something relating to a female, quality, perhaps. I mean, I could come up with some, but they're really inappropriate, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. But something about your skirt, if it, I don't know. Well, how would the reaction be? I don't think it'd be so hot.
If there's a double standard, it's usually against a conservative woman. I mean, look at Meg Whitman as the best example. You have this whole flack about Reid, or rather Brown, or one of his aides, or maybe his wife called her the WHO word. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. It really did not cause much of a stir outside of a couple days of bad press. Now it didn't back Meg Whitman up at all, abandoned ship on her, and now you even see Brown going ahead in the polls. So you can say traditionally there is double standards that are acceptable, that we, as you said, TJ, we just kind of accept as the rule of thumb, but it's not always favoring the woman. Let's not forget.
And there's a difference between what an aide says versus what a candidate said. If Jerry Brown had used the W word, I think that would have blown up.
Oh yeah,
he dismissed it as salty language. When you don't own something as the candidate that your staff is doing or saying, and he actually was on that same tape, corroborating it, agreeing, that kind of complicity, I think, really kind of brings you into
I can tell you,
calling somebody, and I will say, a whore, as opposed to telling a man to man up. I mean, there is no comparison. And whether it comes out of the candidate's mouth or not, really. I mean, if an aide is saying something, the only way I would feel that he would be able to vindicate himself is to get rid of that aide. And essentially stand by his ground that that is not the way that you speak about anybody, whether it be a woman or a man.
Exactly right.
Well, I will say, as someone who's worked in hundreds of campaigns in my life, I don't know of a single candidate who wouldn't be ashamed at certain things aides said during a campaign in private doors. There's a lot of salty language all the way around. Sometimes it is appropriate to instantly cut loose the candidate. We saw that just the other day in Florida, where Alex Sink instantly got rid of her aide, who, not for something said, but for violating the rules of bringing notes up to her.
Didn't John McCain get rid of an aide as well when he was running for president for something that an aide said? Any of you guys remember something like that?
I'm sure that happens.
It does happen, but what we're talking about is the double standard. You hit it on the head, Julie. There's absolutely no comparison between what was said by a Brown operative, and by the way, we don't even know who that operative is. Like, that's how deceitful this whole episode has proven Jerry Brown to be, versus... Listen, man up has become a phrase that, I think is not as offensive, especially put in the context that she put it in.
If you
in
say
the
it
context
to a man,
that she put it in.
I don't know, some men would get very offended by man up.
Why it doesn't cut. I don't think any observer, whether you're conservative or liberal, left, right, would say, you know what, men really have an unfair advantage in politics. There's so many more women elected in politics than no one really thinks that. So if a woman says something that seems like a little bit of a sexist jab, I think the average fair-minded person says, look how many women are in office versus men. Right. We'll throw them a bone.